Hi, everybody. My name is Sherry. I'm an adult with ADHD, and my channel so far has been sharing my journey into trying to get better and try different strategies. Right now, I am doing a 30-day journey to a better me, and I have been trying time management, charts, all different things. Yesterday, I had a very, very productive day. Today is Wednesday. Whoa. Wednesday, December 4th. It's day 22. And to just kind of give an example of what happens when my symptoms come, I kind of let myself go a little bit this morning because yesterday was very productive. I woke up at 7:30 this morning. I ended up being up late. I think I was up till 1:30 or 2, but I got up early, made the bed, opened the shades, got dressed, all that stuff, had my protein drink, got some breakfast and some coffee, and I was looking at some of my jewelry stuff and crystals. I started watching TV. It was too early. It was like too much with all the commercials, and then I wasn't awake for it. So I woke up at 7:30. It is now past 10:30. This is why I stress about it, and I like make charts for everything, because it does not feel like I've been sitting here for 3 hours. What do I have to show for it? I knew I was going to let myself relax and not stress, but I seem to go back and forth because I lose so much time. Now, everybody's ADHD is different, and mine just happens to be really bad right now. I think because I've been coming out of a burnout, and yeah. So we'll see what happens. What did I say last night for goals for myself before I went to bed? I still have not cleaned out that corner, and I have to make a phone call to get a new therapist, and I've been avoiding that for 2 weeks now. So if I can, what else do I have to do before I go back to work next week? Bear with me. I know this is kind of boring, but you might struggle with this also. Instead of texting things to myself the last couple days, I've just been writing things. I spend so much time trying different charts and planners and all of this stuff. I have some things to fill out. I think I have 3 different kinds of planners and charts. I keep bouncing back and forth. If I don't, I'll just space out all day. 2 hours here, 3 hours there, day's over. And then you're like, wait, I just woke up a little, what? And yeah, that's kind of maddening. So 10:30. 10:30. I'm doing a lot better than I was in the beginning of the 30 days. And I think the main reason is my medicine was messed up and I didn't know. And I was able to get that squared away. And it took 2 to 3 weeks to adjust. I had been off of, because I had moved some furniture around and was trying to reorganize things, and I had a special place that I was keeping my medicine that I remembered, and so I got out of the habit because I moved stuff, and I didn't realize I had run out of my ADHD meds, and I just kept putting off filling them. By the time I filled them, it might have been 2 months. And because of my time blindness, it literally felt like a week or two. And I thought I was fine and made myself sick because I didn't realize my body wasn't used to it anymore. Totally forgot, because it's been a few years since I've been on it, that when you take it after it's been out of your system, you have to start slow. So I had to start all over again. I know if you've been watching these videos, you know some of this. But what have I learned so far? I'm not sure. I don't think I've done anything a whole lot different than I've tried in the past. What works for you guys? Do you use a whiteboard? Do you use a rotating to-do list? Um, do you use a planner? Do you use a calendar? How do you keep track of work schedule, school schedule? If you are a stay-at-home parent and you have kids and you're managing all the activities in the home, do you have like a calendar on the fridge to keep track of everybody's appointments and classes and activities and whatnot? Um, what happens if you have a day like me right now where you don't use those things to kind of redirect you and kind of follow as you're using your time? It almost feels like I have something more than ADHD because the losing time is so bad. But one of the things that I learned from watching some of the other YouTube content creators that have ADHD, autism, or both is I have seen videos where they were talking about, is my autism getting worse? Is my ADHD why am I regressing? All of this. And I think it's been a while since I've seen those, but I think it was kind of similar to where I was at, where I'm coming out of a burnout. This is where it's a disability for real. But not working isn't good, right? Like, I am somebody with ADHD, and taking time off of work I needed to do for my health. Now I can go back. I'm still tired, but I'm like no routine, which is also not good. So ask my question, Want to have coffee with me? That's my question. What's the balance? I know everybody's symptoms are different as far as executive functioning, prioritizing, time management, working memory, sensitivities. What was the thing I was just going to say? Time management, working memory, executive functioning, sensitivities, emotional regulation. It turns out that we're not just oversensitive or emotional because we're frustrated with our symptoms and how it's hard we're just like holding on and trying so hard we have to put so much more energy in doing basic stuff than a regular person does. How do we live our lives so we don't go into burnout in the first place? If we could dream or imagine like a perfect world, I know this, just go out on a limb with me here, because I think that because of so many challenges and so many like self-perceived failures, that at least for me, I'm going to have to do this kind of thought experiment to try to get out of my head to try to see what's possible. Because what do I think about? I just keep thinking about what's not possible. And if I keep thinking about what's not possible, I'll just keep getting more not possible. So if it was a perfect world, which is not, if you could do anything, wouldn't it be awesome if we didn't have to worry about making money? I am concerned for our kids' futures. The state that I live in, I live in the U.S., and I live in New England, which is a region of states on the upper east coast of the U.S. And where I live, or roughly, And I want to say like the average for the state. So it does vary if you live in Boston, Massachusetts, that's like one of the most expensive places to live. Period. I think it's like the top expensive 3 or 4 expensive places to live in the country. And I know that there are other places that are more affordable in our state, but if you were to average everything out and the general-ish amount that you have to make just to survive, a livable wage, and I had looked that up a few different times because, you know, my energy is less. My attention span is less. I'm older. Every time I think about going back to school or trying a new career, I feel like life just seems like this never-ending cycle of going to school for something, trying it out. Maybe there's no jobs available, and then you have to do something else. And then you're poor because you're working as a cashier and you can't survive on minimum wage. And then you go back to school and you put yourself more in debt, and then you get out and maybe there's no career, or maybe you have a hurt back. And it's just like this, always trying to find something else, which is life. Don't get me wrong. That's everybody right now. But that I don't know how any of us survive here, because if you were to go to Indeed.com or any other job search website, the jobs on there, and I don't know why, I just keep going back because I think, oh, I'm going to find something that, so the livable wage in my state is around $50 to $55 an hour. Now, the reason why I want to look at it as if you're a single person is because I am in a family right now. I have this very small period of time in the next couple years, or I have already been in this point, and I need to figure a way out because I have been burning myself out and I'm stuck being a cashier because I haven't found something better. I was in school for nursing. That didn't work out. I have hesitated to go back. I really don't think that that's the avenue I should go with my back because I have a hurt back. I can't lift patients. I've thought about going back into phlebotomy. It's been 12 years since I graduated. That's when you go to the lab at a medical building to get your blood drawn. I can do that. It has been 12 years since I graduated, and that makes me mad that they had told me at the school, and I trusted them. There was no reason for me to think that they were lying. And I know I would have gone to Bureau of Labor Statistics to look up the amount that job makes. But when I graduated, I passed that exam head of my class. For somebody who was totally afraid to go back to college after like a decade and struggling so much in school, and the first time I went after a few semesters, I didn't fail out, but I kind of did, and I didn't know I had ADHD. I just thought I was a loser. I didn't, not me, but I could have done better. I thought that it was a failure on my part to not put in the effort or be mature enough or know how to structure my time. I just thought it was my fault. Yeah. That's a lot. That's an experience of a lot of people who, I don't know if it's the same for guys, but the women, I know that, and it's different for everybody. Everyone's ADHD is different. But a lot of women that aren't diagnosed, the stories seem very similar to me, that when they first went to college, that they didn't last very long and they didn't understand why. And they just figured that they weren't good at school and they gave up. And part of it for me was the first time I went to college, I wanted to be an artist. Yep. Going back to what I was little, I used to draw these cartoon characters, and I had it in my head that I was going to be a cartoonist. Now, I don't want to be a cartoonist. I'm an adult now, and that's not what I want. Um, and it is very tough. Anybody who is creative, and now we have avenues that you can actually make money doing art. Um, I don't think I'm going to focus on that because even though there's a way you can make money doing it now, I might do as far as like using, if not this channel, I might do another channel on art so I can start doing art again. I think that a better use of my time instead of cranking out product to sell may be doing classes or instructional videos for you guys, maybe. Maybe I could do some kind of membership once I get better at doing videos. Maybe I can do some kind of membership or some kind of like price to teach people how to do things. You guys ready to hear all the things that I can do? I'm not bragging. This just we all have our gifts. We all have the things that we're good at. And unfortunately, in my family, on my mom's side, everybody is creative in some way, or a lot of them are. A lot of them are. And I have cousins who, at least one of them who actually gave it a good go. I've not had one person out of all the people I knew. I only know one person now who was able to be successful doing their art, and she's my cousin's stepsister. So she's amazing. She's amazing, but she does graphic arts. Story time. When I went to college the first time, let's see, it was 95, 96. I don't know. There was a little time in between graduating high school and going to school. And I didn't know what I wanted. And taking time off of school was kind of like how it is now. I mean, I thought, I'm going to paint. I took time off because I didn't know what I wanted. And I didn't want to put money and attention into school for something that I didn't know if I wanted to do or not. I wanted to take it seriously. But the year or two that I wasn't in school after high school, I worked in retail and I burned myself out very quickly. I ended up having like what I recognize now is kind of like a burnout / meltdown kind of thing where I was just mood swinging and always late. Yeah, that's for another day. The manager tricked me into signing some paperwork when I tried to take some time off so that I wouldn't up and quit. And I don't even know what I signed. And then afterwards, I didn't have a job. And then I had to contest it. And luckily I could. Anyway, the first time I went to school was... Speaking of, I made this yesterday or the day before. One of the things I'll put together like a pile. I'll show you like all the different things. This is from the leftover beads from some of the bracelets I've been making. And this is amethyst, rose quartz. Let's see in the light. So we've got those dark colored beads. There's two different kinds. This one here and the one down here. That is blue tiger's eye. And this one here and the one down there is hematite. And these are just like leftover beads from other things that I was making. And look at that. It's such a nice mix. And if you get into gemstones and supposed energies and all of that, this is a very good combination. And then the brown ones are rhodonite, which is very, it's very forgiving. It's good if you've been through trauma, if you've had loss. Also, I get into the energy of gemstones, but if you're new to my channel, I am also very science oriented, so it is an interesting inner conflict that I have, which maybe is kind of entertaining. I'm like two different people trapped in one person. Like I am me. Don't worry. Luckily, I don't have to cope with something like psychosis. There are people who do, and I'm very grateful for that because I have known somebody in my life who has struggled with that, and it was a terrible thing for her. So I'm grateful that that is not what's happening. But yeah, I have the two sides of me. I have the side of me that's science that doesn't accept this sort of thing, and I have the intuitive side that knows things sometimes, and I don't know how I know. And I can't reconcile the two. The spiritual side of me is very open-minded, and the science side of me is not. So yeah, this might seem contradictory that I get into energy and all that, and I will tell you guys the story if you want to know about the weird stuff that was going down with my energy, with lights dying, batteries on watches dying, replacing them, they die, monitors and printers turning themselves on and off. I swear to you, I am not making this up. That really happened. That really did happen to me. Here's another one I made. And it's just stringing beads, but that one's hematite. This is from when I was younger. Check this out. I used some little, Mom and I were doing these little, like, garden stone things. And instead of using, and the cool thing about mosaics, so let me just list it. I can do and have done painting on canvases, painting on furniture. I had a chair that I painted like pictures all over the chair. I've done murals. That's been a long time. I don't think I ever finished that one. Lots of stuff on paper, drawing, painting, watercolors, acrylics. I used oils when I was younger. When my grandmother was alive. She passed away when I was 11, but she worked in oils. My grandmother was an oil painter, and she must have been neurodivergent. She must have been. She was so crazy talented. She watched somebody do a little display showing people how to do stained glass, and these are just marbles. And this is mosaic, but this is just like this is almost like a non-thing that I was playing around with. So you can actually use baking tins if you want. And what you do is, well, this is like a little fun thing. Oh, yeah. I have these stepping stones that I designed pictures, actual mosaics. I have a couple of sunflowers. I have one that has a fairy. This is just like this little paperweight thing. Yeah, you could take a bread tin or any of those tin. You don't have to buy specific containers to do mosaics and stepping stones and whatnot. You have to put spray Pam like you would use for cooking or some kind of thing on the inside, because what ends up happening is if you pour the cement in and you don't put like Crisco or some kind of thing on the inside of the pan, when this is in the pan and the cement dries and you go to take it out, it's actually upside down. You can't, it'll be permanently, you'll have to throw the tin out. But this, I was like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I got like little, cupcake tins, muffin tins. So I used those and I made these little paperweight things. And I have some where I use, these are just marbles. And then these little things here are little pieces my mom fired in a kiln. It was an experiment. So yeah, I will put this outside at some point. Some of them I painted with metallic paint. So yeah, that's the thing about if you're creative, you will have some things that there's no failures, there's just experiments, right? Um, God, I have a ton of those things, guys. If you're interested, I'll mail them to you. I've got like half a dozen to a dozen of these things, and I don't want them. Just because I'll keep like one. And it's not because I don't want the things I make, but when you make things, you have way too much stuff. And I'm not enjoying it if it's sitting in a box somewhere. So if you have gardens and you like shiny things, let me know. You can put that out by on the ground close to a bird bath or something shiny. Ooh. Do you guys like crows? I went through this obsession once, this phase where I was learning everything about crows. Crows are awesome. Oh my God, guys. They are insane. They're as smart as a person. They are. They are, no lie. They've done studies. They've done studies. They can create tools. All the things that we thought only primates did. Maybe dolphins. Dolphins are smart. But corvids, the group of birds that crows are a part of. So crows, magpies, there's different kinds of crows. Those are corvids. I can't remember the other types of birds. They're very smart. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they like shiny things. And if you leave food for them and they'll remember your face for like up to 5 years. They'll recognize you and they know who is being a jerk to them. And they will actually hold a grudge and they will dive bomb you and do things, they won't like you. But if you are nice to them, they will remember and they will bring you presents and they like shiny things. So that just made me think of that. Um, I don't remember what I brought this out to talk about. Just to kind of show, I guess, what happens when I lose time. I let up on pressure on myself today to get things done because I did so much yesterday. I always think like I'll figure out how to do it very quickly and with less effort so that I can move on to the goals. And then I never seem to get to the goals. So, and I have to do that stuff. And I don't understand how that happens that I spend all this energy doing these things and the house still looks the same. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm ready to go back to work. I'm so ready to go back to work. I don't know what I want to do. Interactions with the public are very, very draining and led to my burnout. But yet being isolated is not good for me either. Going to be going on a journey trying to figure out what kind of employment would be good for me. I'm tired of always trying to figure out that career, that job, and there isn't one. There isn't a perfect one. I can try a bunch of them. I enjoy being my own boss, and with the losing time aspect and the lack of structure, that's really very tricky. How to get myself to get up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time when I have time blindness and I have bad habits of trying to get myself to sleep early enough and do anything in a consistent way, like to do my own structure. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, the first time I went to college, it was for creative and performing arts, and I didn't know what kind of art I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to do graphic art because I didn't want to sit in an office. I didn't want to design my art on a computer, and I didn't want to be trapped in a 9 to 5 because it's stifling and there's no. I did do that for a while at one point. Like I didn't do the graphic art part, but I worked in an office and Yeah. Maybe I'll figure out a way to to do some really, really entertaining content or something here. Maybe I'll be able to make an income on YouTube. Right now, it's the not fun stuff of trying to learn about my neurodivergence, trying to recover from burnout, trying to figure out what causes it so I can better manage my life so it doesn't happen again. And I'm just like wondering because there are quite a few content creators that have had to like not work, like autistic ones had to not work because of burnout. Or in the same thing, ADHD, it's hard to, for various reasons, keep a job or stay consistent going to the same job without either being let go or laid off or quitting. And I'm tired. Like, this is the time in my life. I'm 50 now. I should have been working towards a career. I know should have's isn't good, but there has to be a better way. And going into this next part of my life, I want to figure this out just, guys, so I can just be working and save for retirement. I have negative $50 in my bank account. Actually, might be less now. First of all, I did not sign up to have some withdrawal protection from the bank that they just went ahead and took a bill out anyway. And now I'm probably getting fees for it being below a certain amount. I know I'm getting fees because I think they bill me like $20 or something because I'm not getting direct deposit every month because I'm not working right now. I go back to work next week. It's still only one day a week. This is no way to live. When I do have a job I like or I'm in school, I do enjoy it and that's the thing I like about, this is why I keep sticking with retail, because you can talk to your boss. You can tell them when you're burned out. You can change from nights to days or days to nights. You can change the days you work. You have flexibility. I don't know a whole lot of jobs that do that. So it has that nice balance of having flexibility. And that's what makes me want to stay because I don't know if that exists in other jobs as much. And the first degree I actually, after going, so to tie up the story of, I will get into that if you want to know what my experience was doing an arts degree. I did all of the arts and the fun classes, and I did some of the hard classes, but then I got really overwhelmed. So yeah, I did acting, dance, singing, and fine arts, and color and design, and music. I was in the choir, and that was awesome. That was awesome, and some psychology stuff, literature. And I did love it, but in talking to different creative advisors, of course, this was the 90s. It was a totally different time, the mid 90s. So I can't believe that was 30 years ago. So they had said the only thing in the arts that has a stable job that makes money is graphic arts, which was true. Now it seems like it's a little bit different, but all the same challenges of taking your craft or art that you want to make your livelihood, there's a lot of challenges. There's not a whole lot of roots. And these are my experiences from the past, and now different opportunities are opening up for people. So don't just go by what I say. If you're an artistic person and you want to know what the future is for you and what opportunities, do not go by me because I don't have the current information as far as like opportunities on social media and whatnot. But before social media, what did you have for options? You could do let's say, at one point I started my own business selling jewelry I created. And then I started incorporating some that were made by women or people, not just women, people in India. And I was selling some silversmithed like pendants and things, like along with jewelry I beaded. So some of it was my creation and some of it was I was going to supplement because I couldn't create enough inventory to run a business and sell. I couldn't, I'm just one person. I didn't have anyone working with me. And another thing too is when you take something that's your passion that you love to do and you turn it into a business, even if you have a way to make it financially feasible for you to do that, like you actually get paid and you're not just breaking even because of all the expenses and all the time and everything. There's like so many expenses that if you haven't started your own business before, you won't have thought. There's a lot. And I did a ton of research. I did a shit ton of research. I looked into doing direct to consumer sales, and that's kind of like the jewelry parties, the Tupperware parties. I looked at those avenues. I also was researching marketing and how to drum up sales for that. I have a background in sales. When I was working as a beauty manager, I knew how to make events. I knew how to win contests. I knew there was ways that I could develop a clientele. I knew about direct sales in that sense. That is one avenue, and that has its own challenges. And then there is an online presence, which now you're spending a good amount of your time managing a website. Etsy depend on the person that's doing it. Everybody is different as for what works for you. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from doing it. It's just like, make sure before you rush headfirst into something and quit your day job that you take the time to do all the legwork to learn all these things. You should know exactly what you're getting into and slowly learn these things so that when you do start, you're setting yourself up for success. Don't just rush into something. Because what happens is you'll find out all of these other things that go into running a business, doing these things, and you will get disillusioned and realize you're spending so much time and energy doing all of this stuff required to run a business, way more than you're actually doing your art. And on top of that as well, the pressure to build up an inventory to make it worth your while to sell. Like I haven't been making things lately. The last couple years around in wintertime, I was cranking things out. I was making scarves and sweaters and blankets and hats and things like that. I was doing it all for gifts and a shawl for my mother-in-law. So that was my crochet work. And I do have like a pattern I've developed, kind of, so to speak. It's like the anti-pattern for the way I like to create scarves as an accessory. I live in a place that gets very cold. It is practical to have a soft scarf that keeps you warm, but you can double tie it if you want to really keep out the cold, but you can also have it down and just tuck it into your coat, and it looks like a cute accessory too. And I can make those in a relatively short amount of time. So I could make one or two a day. And those who have not worked selling crafts, meanwhile, and they see the stuff we make and they're like, oh, you should sell it. And also too is the amount you charge. So let's say it takes me 2 to 3 hours. Let's give myself 3 hours, right? Just in case, like I don't remember now, because now I started doing, last year, I started as my scarves were progressing, they were getting wider and wider, and they were turning into snoods so that they were kind of like wide enough to be a hood and a scarf, which is awesome, but would take me twice as long. So when I started, I could do one in 2 to 3 hours, and the snoods were taking me way longer. And with me scrounging around to get yarn for cheap, which is very hard, I have no idea. I don't have a supplier to get yarn wholesale. I'm sure I could find one. If I was going to do things to sell, I'm going to unplug this. If I was going to do things to sell, it would probably be the scarves. At least from what I know right now. I'm going to pause this for a second. Hold on one sec. Thank you. So yeah, doing your own business it's very tricky, truth, if you've never done it, to figure out if it's worthwhile for you. And then also on top of that is, if you take something that's your hobby, your thing that's escape from your job and is very relaxing, and now you try to make a business out of it, a lot of times it can ruin it for people, because now they have to try to figure out a way. So you may not be able to make things to the quality that you want to, because it won't be profitable. It won't be profitable. So I don't know if this will help anybody. So you basically, if you were to take, and a lot of times, even with the things that I've kind of figured out how to be more productive and streamlined making something that I could sell, probably the scarves. I don't know how many skeins of yarn I'm using up making one, because there's a whole bunch of different colors in each one. The cost varies. Let's say I give myself $15 to $18 an hour. Ideally, I would want 20. I mean, that's not a lot of money for anyone to make, right? So even the hours alone, let's say it took me 3 hours to make a scarf. Well, if I did 20, 40, 60, that's $60 right there. When somebody could go down to Walmart and get a scarf for 20 bucks, $15 or something. Yes, mine are handmade. And then when you add in the price of the materials, many times it ends up being like exponentially more money than that item would be worth if somebody were to just go and get a ready-made one. So it's tough. It's tough. And most artists that I have known have not been able to make their art a viable business, that have tried, the ones that I've known, for many, many reasons. And it all depends on the type of art that they do. So I mentioned the direct sales route. There's also the websites. Etsy is a good place to go, where they have like Etsy University or classes that show you, and they have things to support the artisans, which I think is really good. I still might do an Etsy shop at some point. It's encouraged for you to have new things on a regular basis, or people will lose interest because, they'll look at other shops. So there's a certain amount that you have to make to keep new things coming each week, because it takes a while to build up clientele. And if something happens and you're sick, or you stop for a month, you could lose the clientele you took a while to build up. And I don't think it costs a lot there, depending if you do your own website, like the costs and the time for managing that. Then there's the cost of the supplies, the jewelry boxes, the wrapping paper, like tissue paper that you would wrap like handmade garment items. I really love to do fiber art. My aunt actually makes yarn from scratch, and I haven't actually used the yarn she's given me because it's so nice. I don't want to waste it, but I really should make something to enjoy it because she's given it to me. Oh, I will show that to you sometime. I will. That, to me, that's insane. That's awesome and insane. She's got her old-fashioned like spinning wheel, and she will order like wool from farmers, from alpaca, sometimes sheep's wool, and she'll order real silk and other things. And she was explaining to me the ratio that you can't just use soft fibers because it will pill up and it won't be strong. And if you use too much of the strong fibers, it'll be itchy. And she dyes them and they look amazing. When I was younger, my mom went through a rug hooking phase. And I don't mean those rug hook things from the 80s where you had this like plastic grid with holes and you had this little hook thing and you could pull these little pieces of yarn out. I'm talking like thin strips of wool that she put through this thing and cut these thin strips of wool. So she would take pieces of wool fabric, and she just bought so much dye, and she would have these pots going on the stove with different dye colors and pieces of fabric just sitting in there getting dyed, all these beautiful colors. And she had these hooks that she put on in her office / craft room, or like her workshop upstairs. And she had these hooks on the wall, and she put like these, those like stationary things that you get when you go to Staples for those loose rings, those metal rings that you can, yeah, she had them up, and she had samples of the different batches she's made. So she knows the colors and the recipe and all that. And then when before, I think did she felt the wool first? I don't know if she shrank it down and felted it. I'll have to ask her. But yeah, she cut it in this thing. It looks like a old-fashioned pencil sharpener. And you put it through and it would cut these little strips out. And the process is kind of similar to those 80s and 70s style rugs in the craft store with the plastic grid. But it's like if that meant needlepoint. And when you hook the wool through, it's instead of having like the yarn stick up like a loose shag carpet kind of thing, you just pull up a little loop. And so they're little stitches. And, oh, you guys want to see one? I have one. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show you. Are you ready? Here. Here's one. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, those are my knees. Here, hold on. I gotta open that door up. So each one of these things, look at how stunning that is. Each one of these is a loop. Oh, the color. We're losing the color of being in the sun. Oh no, I'm gonna have to talk to her to find out what to do. But each one of these strips, she had cut from a piece of wool and hand dyed. And then she took some kind of material. Oh wow, see how vibrant this is? Look at that. Look at it. This is her design too. So yeah, it has to be washed. But this is like a little entry dory. Oh, I'm sad. Maybe we can restore it. Maybe we can restore it. So that is, let me move my feet out of the way. That is rug hooking.